What is happening out there, Roto Scouts baseball fans? Welcome to a Tuesday show, gang. End of the baseball season, but the beginning of the week still. Had a little layoff from shows yesterday with the short baseball slate, just a 3-gamer that nobody was playing. Monday Night Football in action last night. Interesting football Sunday over the weekend. It was a good one, I thought. A lot of what we talked about on the Saturday football show came to pass. A couple of things didn't, but I felt like we were all over that one. Had some good lineups, had some bad lineups as usual. Clint Wood's here, Andy's here, Anthony Taylor's here. People piling in for a late afternoon show. We've got 11 games to talk about. We're going to get through it lickety-split, do our usual, not our usual, but our faster version of the show. Try and get us out of here a little after 6. But we'll dive on in. Yeah, Ant's got it. Let's go. Let's just get into this thing. 11 games to talk about. Should be a good one, down to the nitty-gritty. Lot of teams still contending for playoff spots. It's been really interesting, really fun with all these extra spots in play. So kind of liking that. It's a big final 6 more days? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 6 more days of baseball action in the Dynasty League. Currently ahead by 1 point in the Roto standings. Trying to hang on. We will see. It's close. It's crazy close in like 6 or 7 different categories. Somewhere I'm competing directly head-to-head with the people behind me in second. Somewhere they're competing with somebody else whose team isn't any good, but maybe can steal a base or two and chisel away a critical point or even a half a point. I've got only a couple spots where I can gain ground, but I've got more spots where I can gain, and they've got more spots where they can lose ground, which I like. A couple spots where I can take a point from them directly, hopefully tonight in strikeouts. Anyway, let's get into this one. 11 games up. And we will start up at the top of the board with the Chicago White Sox in town to visit the New York Yankees. Yanks obviously still chasing that playoff spot, but it looks like a little weather in the game in the area. Yellow-green on Ross board. Doesn't seem like anything's too concerning, but he's got this one yellow-green. The Philly game also yellow-green for Miami-Philly. I think that's on the earlier slate, actually. And then Mets at Cubs, he's got green-yellow. Seems like it's fine. Winds are blowing in at Wrigley, which helps pitching. But that's about it. Everything in the New York game should be fine. It's just some passing showers. Shane Smith on the mound for the White Sox, going up against Luis Gil on the mound for the Yankees. Yanks pulling a 5.60 implied total to lead the slate, pushing them to the top of the board. Just as we see, whenever they get up toward 5 runs, they're just kind of insuppressible up at the top. The White Sox, mix and matchy kind of squad, maybe against Luis Gil, who is fairly talented, has a couple bumps here and there, but his 9 starts have mostly been pretty solid, so I think we can go to him with the White Sox at a 3-5 total. The Red Sox and the Blue Jays, Lucas Giolito against Kevin Gausman. You can see fairly low implied total for the Red Sox, fairly high implied total for the Blue Jays. I think we would play it that way as far as which pitchers, which bats we want to use, but those Red Sox bats are always a little bit in consideration. Willie Abreu back in the lineup is a big lefty bat to throw at Gausman, so maybe we can dabble with some Red Sox. It will probably be fairly low ownership. Brad Lord going up against the Braves, pushing a 5.24 implied total in their direction. He looks pretty attackable. And then Hurston Waldrop having a pretty solid stretch. 8 games in the show, 50 innings of quality, 3.04 ERA, 3.66 xFIP, handful of strikeouts in basically every game. Looks fairly solid here against a gettable enough Nationals team. David Peterson on the mound for the Mets going up against the Cubbies. Don't love that, but as I just mentioned, wind blowing in at Wrigley always helps. Sub-4 totals for both the Cubs and the Mets with David Peterson and with Cade Horton on the mound. Horton's been pretty good in his rookie season, 21 pretty decent starts. Every now and then he's given up a couple few runs, but his worst outing was 7 runs, and that was all the way back in the end of June. Since then, it's been pretty clean. So, interesting pitcher, really tough matchup. David Peterson, more talent than he gets credit for, but also a lot of short starts. Don't love throwing him into that grinder of a Cubs lineup. Zemi Matthews is on the mound for the Twins, going up against Patrick Corbin, one of our favorite targets over the years. Twins bats against Corbin. I don't see why not. 4.04 implied total. On the other side, 4.58 implied total for Texas against Zebby. Zebby's been shortening up and losing some runs over his last handful of starts, losing some strikeouts. Think he's a good, talented young pitcher. I just think we're kind of at the wall for the season, and we can definitely look at some Rangers bats. Vegas seems to be seeing it that way as well. Cole Ragans, just 3 2/3 in his return to action. I wouldn't expect more than 5. I think I gave him 5, might even have been 4.5 on the board there. 388 implied total for the Angels. There are plenty of strikeouts on deck for him for whatever he's going to be in there for. Just not totally reliable as far as how much depth we're going to get there. And then Sammy Aldieri on the mound for the Angels. Yes, I continue to say that like Guy Fieri says his name. Guy Fieri. Sammy, I think that's how you would say it. 2 innings in the last appearance, gave up 5 earned runs over 15 hitters, 4 walks, 2 strikeouts. Not very good. I would figure, 4 and change to 5 innings if things go to plan, but probably not even that much. We can probably get to some Royals bats on the other side of that one at a 4.72 implied total. The Rockies coming in with a slate low 3.23 implied, going up against Bryce Miller, who has not been good through most of the season, but maybe finding it a little bit since returning from the IL. The most recent trip from the IL, he's been a little bit better. He had an 11 strikeout game, but gave up 4 runs to the Angels a couple starts back. A couple cleaner games with fewer strikeouts mixed in around that one. Tons and tons of upside for him against the Rockies. And it's McCade Brown, who the Mariners are pretty due to tee off on nearly a 5-run total for them. Dodgers pulling nearly 5 against Brandon Pfaadt. Brandon Pfaadt is coming off the best start of his career. 9 innings, 1 hitter. Shut out the Giants over 9, struck out 7, and walked 1. Tremendous outing. We know that he can be a roller coaster, but he does, the last couple of years, hit his stride late in the season. It's not necessarily been that this year, but he's had a few good outings lately. It's obviously a tough Dodgers opponent, but he is good enough. Maybe we chisel away a couple of points there. I've actually picked him up for a 2-start week with critical innings and strikeouts on deck, and I don't care about ERA or WHIP right now. Given my tremendous lead in those categories. So just looking for some innings and some Ks out of Brandon Pfaadt, but obviously a very tough opponent to do both those things against in LA. And a 4.11 implied total for the Diamondbacks going up against Shohei Ohtani. Ohtani's interesting on FanDuel. He is an $8,200 outfielder on FanDuel today. They forgot to move him to the pitching spot, but he does have the pitcher designator on his tag, right? They put the little you're the starting pitcher, the green pitcher icon on there. Anybody's guess as to which side of the points he's going to get, because they priced him like a pitcher, but they put him in the outfield, but they didn't put a note up saying he's not going to score as one or the other. I have no idea. I would assume since he's slotting into the outfield that you're going to get his outfielder points, but I can't guarantee you that. He's also 8,200, so if you try and do that, you're essentially paying double for his outfielder points. If you get his pitcher points for that price, you're still only getting 5 innings. He does have upside for strikeouts, but it's probably going to be more along the lines of the 5 strikeout games we've been seeing than it was the 9 strikeout game against the Reds a few starts back, going up against this good Diamondbacks team. 4.26 implied total for the Brewers, 4.35 on the other side of that one for the Padres. Bruce Zimmerman is on the mound for the Brewers. That Zimmerman with 2 N's at the end. That always trips me up. Randy Vasquez on the mound for the Padres. Definitely looking to target bats in that game. Andre Palante going for the Cardinals against the Giants. 4.39 implied total. Almost ran it down. 4.39 implied total for the San Francisco Giants. 3.22 implied total for the visiting Cardinals going up against Logan Webb, one of the top pitchers on the board, one of the top pitchers in the league. And then we round things out in the bandbox in Sacto with Christian Javier against Jeffrey Springs. And we are just looking at bats in that last game. Beyond the Rabbit Hole also makes points out that, Brandon Pfaadt has been very, very good in Arizona this year as well. I don't get too deep into home run splits, but that is something that I noticed as I was doing all the run up to Sunday lock for picking up for this week and making sure that I actually wanted to start Brandon Pfaadt in against the Dodgers in the last week of the season. But like I said, ERA and WHIP literally don't matter to me. I don't want to get too over the top about it because there's 6 days left, but I've got a fairly monstrous lead in both. So it shouldn't hurt me even if he goes out there and blows up. That said, I've given back 0.25 of ERA and WHIP over the last couple of months. Anyway, Logan Webb, top of the board, actually. I said he was one of the top. He is the top against that mediocre Cardinals lineup. He should chew them up. Excellent run limiter, excellent at keeping the ball in the yard. No concerns on that one. Kevin Gausman against the Red Sox, more concerns, I think, than Logan Webb for sure, especially at the same prices, essentially. 500 cheaper on DraftKings does make a difference. 100 cheaper on FanDuel, essentially the same price. That's a dangerous Red Sox lineup, even with some missing pieces, some coming back, still just, knocking the rust off, I'm sure. But yeah, I don't fully trust Gausman. but he is definitely good enough to earn that spot. And it's not like he's projecting through the roof. There's an appreciable gap between him and Logan Webb. And then everybody else on this slate is in the 30 or below range, the 15 and change and below range. So it's an interesting slate in that there's some names, there's some reasonable spots, but it's a little bit lighter projected than some of the ones we've had recently. Cole Ragans against LA, I think that's probably one of these situations where that's your ceiling. That's a 5-inning projection. He's a good enough strikeout pitcher that against that team, it bounces him up the board, but I don't think you're getting much beyond that today. So, yeah, you could play it, but I wouldn't expect 35. I wouldn't expect 40. I wouldn't expect 20 on DraftKings. Ohtani against the Diamondbacks, kind of the same deal, 82, 8,000. I think you're good there for 5 innings, maybe a little bit more, couple few points on either side, but not much. He's not going more than 5 here. They need to preserve him. They've already said he's going to start in the playoffs. Hasn't gone more than 5 throughout the season. I would doubt it would be today. And that's a good team on the other side. Luis Gil, honestly, is the next most appealing guy, in my opinion, after Logan Webb. 92 and 76 on DraftKings to face the White Sox is friggin' stupid. That is a ridiculous price. Take advantage of Luis Gil on DraftKings. I'm certain he's going to be ludicrously popular, but that's easily, well, now that I'm seeing Bryce Miller 2 spots further down at 7, you honestly, I would not call you crazy if you paired $7,600 Luis Gil and $7,000 Bryce Miller to target the White Sox and the Rockies. Why wouldn't you do that, honestly, is really the question. No safety in Kevin Gausman. Short start from Ragans. Short start from Ohtani. Just got to fade the Logan Webb start. Maybe you got to fade the more expensive Hurston Waldrep start. Neither the Rockies nor the White Sox have bats like the Nationals do up top. I'd rather target either of those teams than the Nationals. Bad as the Nationals might be. Good as Hurston Waldrep is. Zebby against Texas, you can throw him into that same cheap bucket, but he's cheaper for a reason, and he's been bad lately. The Texas lineup, some good, some bad. Krishna Javier, not in that bandbox. No, thank you. And with a projection dip between him and the next guy up, Lucas Giolito against that low strikeout, high quality sequencing Blue Jays team, challenged. Aldieri with a probably short start against that high quality Royals team that's also very low strikeout. Again, really don't like it. Brad Lord against the Braves, challenging. They're at a 5+ implied total. Peterson's in Chicago against the Cubs. The wind's blowing in at least. You got that going for you. And again, he is good, but so is that Cubs lineup. Fought against LA is in play for me. He's not going to project great. He projects all right for those prices with a little bit of ceiling on. No issues with it, but probably would rather have Bryce Miller against Colorado. Probably would rather have Luis Gil against the White Sox for a little bit more. Or excuse me, a little bit less. That's stupid. Brendan Pfaadt for 77 against the Dodgers. Luis Gil against the White Sox for 76. It's just dumb. Springs, no thank you. Again, not in that ballpark, not against a good enough Astros team. Shane Smith, maybe you could mix in a little bit around the edges just for one of those lucky, fortunate type days where he fades the big bats, finds the Ks against the Yankees. Wouldn't knock me out of my chair if he did. Not looking for it. Not really advising to go play it, but on a short, broken kind of pitching slate, Patty Corbin, no faith, 66, awfully cheap. He's been better this year than he's been in some years recently, but again, no faith. Palante, low strikeout, heavy contact. Cade Horton against the Mets, I don't really like. They're checking him down awfully hard. And then Zimmerman, Vasquez, and McCabe Brown are just targets for bats. Yeah, there you go, Javier. Javier saying it's Gil Miller and hope Webb doesn't kill you. Yeah, it really, really is. I didn't realize when I was putting things together, it didn't jump out at me how cheap those two were and the ability to pair those two. I would have to think that's going to get popular, but the common man approach is going to be to take one of those guys and put them together with either Logan Webb, Kevin Gausman, name brands of Ragans and Ohtani. The people who put those two guys together, it'll happen, but they'll be fewer. And that should not be the case. I think that should be a crazy popular pairing. Javier says, by the way, random, but Padres to win the division are 17-1. They played every game at home, and LA finishes the season in Seattle, who they may still need something on my screen there. And then it still need wins. I think they were better than 17-1. To win the division, 17-1? How many back are they? Two and a half back with 6 to play or 5 to play. That's a little challenging. I'm not saying it's not a little better maybe than 17-1, but it's probably no better than like 15, something in that neighborhood. Maybe you could swing a point or two. But I think 2.5 out with 5 games to go is a little bit rough. But wouldn't surprise me if they pull it off. We've seen stranger things happen for sure. Anyway, let's get into this thing. Beyond the rabbit holes here. Javier's here. Anthony Till. I don't think we've missed anybody. Yeah, how about those Lions, Ant? I was personally waiting for that game to go over 100 by halftime with the way that it started out. And then just, bam, halftime rapture. I don't know if you guys know, but it's supposed to be the rapture this week. Prepare. Repent. Hopefully they let us get a couple more baseball slates in. I was joking with my friends. Is it going to happen on Jerusalem time or Eastern Standard Time? Not sure. Cap saying, I'm witnessing the Guardians run a miracle to the playoffs. I hope and I'm ready for the rapture. Yeah. If you need a sign of the apocalypse, Guardians ripping off a month of wins to make the playoffs is probably up there. White Sox, 3.5 run total. Yankees, 5-6. The Yanks are obvious and standing tall on this slate, but Shane Smith hasn't been terrible. 4.06 ERA, 4.38 xFIP. Nothing overly special there, but that is a very solid swinging strike rate that would work effectively against this Yankees team on the right day. 22.5% strikeout rate. That's the good. Gives up a lot of hard hit, a lot of exit velo, but it hasn't resulted in a ton of home runs. These Yankees might change that in a hurry. Smith, loosely playable at 72, but considering we've got so many good options in that price range, we probably don't need it. 74 on FanDuel, we don't really. Luis Gil, outstanding on DraftKings. Honestly, would play on FanDuel. I think that's the correct price at 92. He's only striking out 17.9 right now, 14.4% walks over his 9 starts, his 46 innings. It's been really, really ugly and not reminiscent really of the pitcher that he was last year, but he's still got good stuff. He's still marking out above average for stuff. He's been limiting power. He does have good swing and miss stuff when it's working, when it's on form. Last time out, just 4 2/3, 4-run game, struck out 2 and walked 2. Start before that at Fenway, shut out the Red Sox over 6, faced 23 Red Sox. He struck out 4, but he walked 4, but he kept them off the board. 6 innings against Toronto. The game before that, 3 hits, 1 earned run, struck out just 1, low strikeout team, and walked 4, obviously problematic, but again, kept them off the board. 5 1/3 against the White Sox, these lousy White Sox, 2 earned runs, struck out 7 of these White Sox. That was his best strikeout performance since his return. So there's upside here, and he's super crazy, stupid cheap. Could it go against us? Sure. Are the White Sox good? No. Do they have a couple decent bats, a couple quality lefties that can find the seats in right? Yes. So that's your downside, but he looks pretty tremendous at price on DraftKings, would play on FanDuel. Chase Meadroth had a little hit streak going, 265, 343, 336. A solid year for a hit tool-oriented player as far as just, coming up and doing his thing as a rookie, but nothing special, and definitely for DFS, just a correlated scoring piece. Kyle Teal, Colson Montgomery, those 2 lefty bats are where you want to play. 150 ISO for Teal, doesn't really get it into the seats too often. He's got 8 on the season, but a 376 on base puts him on ahead of Colson Montgomery, who has put 18 into the seats in just 258 plate appearances, 268 ISO. He's been a beast up there. A couple of very solid lefties for cheap pricing. Miguel Vargas, Brooks Baldwin, Will Robertson, Dom Fletcher, all kind of mix and matchy. Edgar Quero in there as the second catcher, 3,300. You can't have him and Kyle Teel on DraftKings, but you can on FanDuel. That puts Quero probably as the number 3 option on FanDuel, but drops him down the board on DK. He also gets on base a lot, 341 on base, a 101 WRC plus for the season. And then hitting 7th, our guy Lenyn Sosa, 3,500, 2,700, 21 home runs on the season, a 166 ISO. Sliding down the lineup, maybe people start to skip over him, don't think about him quite as much here. 2,700 on FanDuel across 3 positions. 35 at first base only kind of sucks on DraftKings. The positioning is a little off for his value, but the FanDuel spot is a lot better. Lennon's got the power to put one, take one out of the yard in any direction in this ballpark. So definitely in play if you're going to the White Sox. Yankees side, much more appealing. Trent Grisham in the leadoff role. He's got 33 home runs, a 231 ISO, 129 WRC plus, followed by Aaron Judge with 49, a 345, and a 199. Then there's Cody with 29 home runs, a 215 ISO, a 124 WRC plus, followed by Ben Rice, who has 24 home runs, a 236 ISO, a 129 WRC plus. Are you seeing the pattern forming yet? Team has ridiculous power. 21 home runs in just 257 plate appearances for Giancarlo Stanton, one of the best stretches of his at least recent career. 361 xWOBA, 150 WRC plus. You got a 244 ISO on Jazz Chisholm with 30 home runs, or 30 stolen bases, 31 home runs, a 127 WRC plus. We had the breaks on run creation a little bit with the bottom 3 spots. McMahon, Volpe, and Wells, 85, 84, and 92 WRC plus marks. But for DFS purposes especially, any one of those guys can be a big help. They're all inexpensive. They've got power. Each one of those guys can drive the ball effectively. Every single one of the 3 guys is into the double digits as far as barrel rate goes. Respectable or better to very, very good with Ryan McMahon hard hit rates. They all strike out a little bit. Only McMahon really draws walks. He's a 3 true outcomes hitter. That's why he's at a 311 on base, which isn't particularly good. And the other 2 are at 273 exactly. Between the 3, I want McMahon more often than not. But I would say Wells on DraftKings picks up a little value positionally, and all 3 are at worst playable. Yankees bats, Luis Gil on DraftKings, Luis Gil on FanDuel, Shane Smith, White Sox bats. Giolito, not a good season, also not a terrible season. 3.46 ERA, but a 4.50 xFIP, 20% strikeouts against 8.8% walks. There's nothing special there. He was all right at limiting power, but that came with premium contact. So probably a little fortunate to be there. Stuff Plus doesn't really have much esteem for his arsenal here. I don't think we need Giolito against this excellent Blue Jays lineup that is just so low strikeout and suppresses pitcher quality to the left, right, and center. 83, maybe if he was a little bit more affordable. I think he's a dart throw because you can find some quality from time to time over his 25 starts. He's had a few good ones. It is a important game, so I could see it, but I don't think he's anywhere close to a priority. Kevin Gausman at 93, at 97, one of the top-rated pitchers on the slate, number 2 overall, 3.38 ERA, but a 3.81 xFIP. That's a little bit of the lack of trust. Not that a 3.81 xFIP is bad, but it's a little higher than I would want to, fully trust a guy. 24.3% strikeouts, 6.5% walks is good, but again, that is a little bit less than tremendous ace caliber top board type talent. 12.5% swinging strike rate is excellent. He also, though, gives up a fair amount of premium contact. 8 change barrels, 41+% hard hits, 89.3 miles an hour of exit velo. So some of these power hitting bats on the Red Sox definitely could get to him. Wouldn't surprise me at all if the Red Sox had a decent day. That total feels a little bit low at 3.6. Probably should be sub 4, but more like 3.8s, 3.9, somewhere in that territory, a little bit more. Jarren Duran, top of the board on the Red Sox, 48-36 from the left side. Excellent bat for extra base hit quality, 189 ISO, a 114 WRC plus, 16 homers, 24 steals, plenty of runs, just fills counting stats. So does Trevor Story. He's been absolutely tremendous for counting stats all year long. He's up to a 103 WRC plus. He's pushed the on base up to 311, pushed the walks up a little bit at 5.2, and he's made great contact all season. That is an interesting option at shortstop. Fully priced on FanDuel, couple few $100 cheap on DraftKings. Bregman's a little affordable at 45. He's made good contact throughout the season. Super low strikeout, high walk, 18 home runs, a 194 ISO. He had most of the power numbers prior to hitting the IL and then has not been the bat that he was at the beginning of the season, but he's still been good and he's still very, very playable for what we need, and his price has come down. Yoshida at 3,200, hitting cleanup from the left side against a gettable enough righty. That looks pretty solid as far as just a run generator, a guy who can keep the lineup moving along, 12.8% strikeouts and 5% walks, puts the ball in play if nothing else, just hasn't been getting on base regularly, hasn't found a ton of success doing that this year, but a playable piece for a cheap price. Romy Gonzalez hits the ball very squarely, also slashing 308, 346, 492 on the season, 125 WRC plus, 9 home runs on the board, gets more quality against lefties, but in play in this spot for sure. Sedan Rafael has been good for counting stats again this year, not much else, but good for counting stats. Nathaniel Lowe has thunder from the left side. Doesn't show up much in the premium contact numbers, but those are up from the from last year and reminiscent of 2 years ago. 18 home runs and 587 plate appearances. He started out with a lot of power this year, cooled off a little bit, got sent away from the Nationals, found his way to the Red Sox, 155 ISO. The on base has gradually crept up a little bit to 303, but the average on base are disappointing for who this hitter typically is. But with all that in mind, for 37, for 28, that's a good lefty bat that you can throw into the mix against Kevin Gausman. And then one of the top priority bats in this lineup is Willie Abreu down in the 8 spot. 12.9% barrel, 45.6% hard hit, 22 home runs and only 399 chances, 230 ISO. That is a very, very good left-handed power bat down there and just specializes in hitting righties. And Carlos Narvaez has made good contact throughout the season. That's a playable catcher, 14 home runs on the board. Top of the Blue Jays is where we want to be if we're going to this team. Springer's been fantastic. Monster return to form season, 307, 397, 556. Even when it was starting out well, even in like mid-June, I wouldn't have said it was going to finish this high. That is a monster year. 164 WRC plus, a 414 xWOBA. 2 spots later, you've got a 404 xWOBA on Vladdy, 142 WRC plus. Still stuck at 23 home runs, a 182 ISO. The power never really arrived in terms of the output, but he's made great contact all season long. Super low strikeout, high walk. It's still Vladdy Guerrero. You don't have to overthink it. 5,000, 3,600, getting a little bit of a discount. Well, Dalton Varsho is only 200 less on both sides. He's got the biggest home run number in the model today at 12.61 against a gettable righty. 19 on the board in just 248 plate appearances, a 324 ISO. He's been ridiculous for power and premium contact all year. Addison Barger's been really good. 20 home runs, 210 ISO, major source of premium contact in the cleanup spot. Alejandro Kirk has had a solid season, 285, 352, 407, 113 WRC plus. Just an on-base machine for a cheap catcher at 3,600. That is a very, very playable option. Nathan Luke's at 32.27, mix and matchy. Gets on base a little bit, but he slipped below average for WRC plus. Prefer Davis Schneider a spot later, 35.26, a little bit more expensive, but not, marginally so on DraftKings. He's got 11 home runs. He's got a 211 ISO, which is what I'm interested in, the 14.5% barrel. Get a little pop in the bat from down there. And then Andres Jimenez, kind of a mix and matchy guy, if that, and Ernie Clement, a better version, more of a just true contact hitter with a little bit of skill. BABIP focused, of course, but low strikeout, put the ball in play tight. Between the two, I think you go to Ernie as your wraparound guy if you're going down there. Blue Jays bats, Kevin Gausman. Red Sox bats, Lucas Giolito. I think it's closer than that Vegas total might suggest. Johnny Hands are throwing the REM quote in there. It's saying after baseball's over, might as well rapture. I don't disagree. It's going to be a couple days in here where I'm just like, I don't have anything to do, like Monday, Tuesday of next week. Well, not Monday, because we'll have Monday Night Football, like Tuesday of next week. It's going to be veg time. There'll be a playoff game, I'm sure. I'll throw the projections up, but it'll be nice to have a couple days of cool down where I'm just focused on NFL for the week, getting ahead of schedule, hopefully, for NFL. And then, as that's what I was getting to up here. Before we know it, hockey will start up. Preseason hockey's already underway. Started this weekend. Basketball right around the corner. Gets crazy. Nationals with Brad Lord, 6,000, 7,100. He's pitching just under a 20% strikeout rate, a 4.180 ERA, a 3.93 xFIP. He's made 17 starts now. He's been okay. I would call it adequate, slightly below average, but serviceable. When you're, the back end of the Nationals rotation, you can only expect so much. But you can see the 5.24 implied total he's pushing toward the Braves. I don't think we go to Brad Lord even with the cheap price. There's just so many cheap options. You don't really need it. Between the crazy bargain bin, scraping him off the floor, stuck to the floor underneath the bargain bin type guys, he's maybe one of the more capable guys. And this Braves team has been super up and down throughout the season. So through that lens, maybe at $6,000, you can throw a couple darts if you're building 150 at him as an SP2. FanDuel, I don't think you really go there. Waldrop definitely in play on both sides. He's been great over his 8 starts. 3.04 ERA, 3.66 xFIP, 24.5% strikeouts, 11% swinging, more than good enough to beat this Nationals team. It's got them sub 4. I think you fire away, but you've got cheaper options on both sides. So I don't know how it might keep his popularity down, but I don't know how much we want to get to him. It's going to be a big question between what his popularity looks like, what we think his relative value versus that 2,500 that we can save with those other guys is. Nationals bats against Nasim Nunez up at the top, 33-22. Not much of a bat. Over 82 plate appearances, has been pretty weak. Leading into James Woods, CJ Abrams, the bats that you actually want from this team. Both those guys reasonably priced for what they are. 27 home runs, 15 stolen bases out of Wood, 18 and 31 out of Abrams, 123 and 108 WRC plus marks. You've also got Dalen Lyle holding down a 125 WRC plus over 332 plate appearances. Pretty solid season at him. 293, 39, 479. I feel like we haven't talked about him much throughout the year. At 16% strikeout, 6% walk, not bad. They've got a similar guy in Luis Garcia in the next spot, another lefty. He hits the ball a little bit harder so far. Very low strikeout, very low walk, put a lot of balls in play. 13 home runs, 13 steals. It was a much weaker season over 507 plate appearances this year than it was last year, but his price is down for it. He's cheap. He's a spot filler at second base at worst. And remember, when we're going to this, if we're looking at this team, Hurston Waldrop, decent as he's been, is a rookie. I mean, there is some upside in taking some bats against him. So I think the Nats are on the board as a underrated, low-owned, underrated contrarian type team. That doesn't mean we're going to the Nats aggressively. It doesn't mean they're a priority at all. But if you're just fishing around like, damn, I put 4 Yankees into my lineup and a good pitcher, and now I need to get cheap, this might be a lane to get cheap, especially on FanDuel, where you've got, it looks like a little bit of a price gap on both Wood and Abrams at 32 and 31 versus the 53, 54 on DraftKings. They're more expensive on DK. Down lineup, Dylan Cruz is very, very interesting. 10 home runs, 17 stolen bases, and 307 plate appearances. A lot of draft pedigree, a lot of prospect pedigree and talent there. Just needs to find it at the major league level. It's kind of unfair to really expect it. He was kind of rushed up here and just making his way. He's also had just a partial season with injuries, but he's in the lineup. He's cheap. I think that's an interesting option if you're going to this team. Riley Adams, just a mixer, 8 home runs on the season. Most of his success comes against lefties. Brady House, just a mixer, low-end mix and match guy. And Jacob Young steals some bases. He's got 15, but a sub 300 on base. On the Braves side, 5+ implied total means we're definitely interested in some Braves bats. We've got Profar up at the top. He's been serviceable, setting the table, 358 on base. He's hit 14 home runs and only 349 chances, just under a 200 ISO, 128 WRC plus. It's been undeniably good. I still just don't love paying those prices for that player. Matty Olson at 51.38. Matty Olson last night, Matty O stood for Matty O for 6, which was problematic for those of us chasing OPS or trying to hang on to our OPS lead. 3,800, 5,100, affordable at worst. 28 home runs on the board. Last night, probably going to be his worst game of the week. Monster premium contact, major source of power. He was on a tear, too. He got up to 28 home runs. He had been lingering in the low 20s for a while. 6,100, 4,100 for Ronnie Acuna, entirely affordable and appropriate. 19 home runs, 8 stolen bases, a 415 on base, a 158 WRC plus. Just ridiculous source of run creation. Drake Baldwin with a lot of power. 18 home runs in his rookie year over 425 plate appearances. That's a solid left-handed bat at catcher. Ha-Sung Kim, entirely playable in the middle infield spots. Very affordable on both sides. 5 home runs in just 171 chances. 99 WRC plus we can quibble with. 303 ex-Wobo we can quibble with. We're going to a cheap shortstop from the Braves. I don't think we worry about it too much. Mikey Harris, 35-29. Went on that little tear to normalize his numbers a little, but still 77 WRC plus, 265 on base. No good. Counting stats look okay. Playable, but not reliable. Marcell Ozuna, 38, 3,000, still cheap. 20 home runs on the board, still getting on at a 357 clip, if nothing else. 114 WRC plus, supported by that in the 16% walk rate. And then Brett Weisley's on this team apparently now. Dead min price on FanDuel across 4 positions. Mix and match quality guy. He's not any good, but he's very, very cheap. And Nacho Alvarez has not done much, but he's normalized to 250, 312, 355 over time. Given more time, I think the hit tool continues to climb. That is what he's regarded for. He's a playable option down the bottom of the lineup, but no more than a mix and match. Braves bats, Hurston Waldrop, Nationals bats, and would not play Brad Lord or pray to Brad Lord, even on the Rapture Day. You like turning that stumble around. So I think the Nats bats, though, maybe a little bit frisky, as again, just a cheapo contrarian dart, not a priority, not a go get them kind of a team, but maybe they get a little frisky. Cubbies. Matt Shaw decided he wanted to play baseball, not go to his his friend's party. Let's say. Those are the terms for the event that they held, but we'll hold off there. Weird decision by a guy who's not very good at baseball, though. On the Mets side, sub-4 implied total for them, sub-4 implied for the Cubs. Wind blowing in at Wrigley Field should help the pitchers. David Peterson pitching to a 20.9% strikeout rate this year over 29 starts. He's been better for Ks in the past. I think that's kind of just hurting our option here as far as taking on this Cubs team, even with the wind at his back. Maybe he keeps the runs down, but I don't know that we find the strikeouts like maybe we would used to expect from David Peterson. What have we gotten in recent games? Did we get anything good lately? Did have an 8 strikeout game against Philly 2 back. Went 5, struck out 8. 1 strikeout in his most recent one against the Pods. 4 strikeouts, 1 strikeout, and 2 starts prior to that. 8 strikeout game against the Reds and the Marlins. But then had a couple good ones with 8 and 10 Ks against the Braves and the Nats. He's a dart. He's appropriately priced to be a dart in Wrigley Field and against a team with a sub-4 total. But I lean fairly heavily toward the Cubs. They've loaded up with righty bats or guys who are switch hitters that will hit righty against Peterson. I don't love it for him. I would prefer, I think, Cubs bats. And if they get contrarian because of the wind and everything, then that puts them on the board a little bit. And it's the same story with the Mets. I think I'd rather have them than a kind of pricey Cade Horton, 85, 89. He's been good over 21 starts, 2.66 ERA is spectacular. 4.29 xFIP is the real number, though. 20.4% strikeouts is not special. 11% swinging strikes is good, but it also comes with tons of premium contact that the Mets could easily exploit. 9.7% barrel, 41.1% hard hit. 1.94% home runs is lucky so far. So again, I kind of would rather have the bats. Neutral field, no win. We would be talking more about the bats, and both these teams would be above a 4 total. Top of the Mets with Lindor, Soto, and Alonso. Ridiculous. At any price, you want 2 or 3 of those guys if you're going to the Mets. 28 homers, 31 steals for Lindor, 42 and 35 for Soto, who for most of the season, Mets fans were saying he was overrated and they weren't sure why they had him. 267 ISO, 159 WRC plus, literally one of the best seasons of his career, and he's one of the best hitters, or the best hitter of this generation. Pete Alonso with 52, 34, 37 home runs on the board for him this season, a 252 ISO, monster power year from Alonso, who nobody wanted. 4,200, 3,000 for Nimmo, 24 homers, 12 stolen bases out of him. Another high-quality player. 331 xWOB under the surface is fine. Says that at worst, this is real. 113 WRC plus, and we've seen Nimmo at this level many times. Mark Vientos at 3,600, 2,900, 17 home runs, a 186 ISO, tons and tons of premium contact with 11.6% barrel, 50.2% hard hit, and you get the same deal out of Brett Beatty. 12.8% barrel, 46.8% hard hit, 17 home runs out of him and 423 chances. Both of those guys are good. Both of those guys are cheap. Unfortunately, they also both play third base on DraftKings. FanDuel, you can get one at third, one at second, which is ideal. Starling Marte, a little mix and matchy. 279, 346, 425, solid slash line this season. Should lead to producing counting stats over time. 316 okay plate appearances for counting stats, a 119 WRC plus. Good run creator with ability to steal you a base, the occasional home run. Jeff McNeil, mix and match quality, 249, 340, 419. Another guy who gets on base a lot, though, creates runs, 114 WRC plus. And then rounding things off with Francisco Alvarez in the bottom spot, 11.7% barrels out of him. Solid year, over 258 plate appearances. The most impressive thing, I think, is the on-base percentage at 337. He's pushed walk up a little bit. He's maintained the power. He's looking great. On the Cubs side, Nico gets on base, steals bases, 348 on base, 28 stolen bases, a 110 WRC plus. Ideal guy to have as a table setter in the leadoff spot. Ian Happ also gets on base like crazy. Returned to the top of the lineup not too long ago. 23 home runs on the board this year, 342 on base, a 116 WRC plus. In the end, it looks a lot like an Ian Happ season to me. Seiya Suzuki, been stuck at 27 home runs for the longest time, 213 ISO. He's had some random days off lately. He had a weird week-long illness a couple weeks ago. Maybe we could get this guy in the lineup for 5 days in a row to help the Cubs and my dynasty team. 4,400, 3,300. He's been the weak part of that trade with EMAC. Matty Olson at least resurrected himself and ended up being a positive. So far, not so much for Suzuki. Carson Kelly at 39, 29, 17 home runs out of him, 120 WRC plus. Carlos Santana, most of his season with the Guardians, pretty weak, 217, 307, 321 in the heart of the lineup here. I don't love it, but he is low strikeout, high walk, which could give David Peterson fits. Peterson this year is fairly low strikeout, fairly high walk. So that collides with Santana in interesting ways. Dansby at 39-31 has 23 home runs and 18 stolen bases. Monster premium, monster counting stats guy. Dead on league average for WRC plus. You can see the surge that would eventually come with that 354 xWOB under the surface and just the way he hits the ball. Yeah, give him another 400 and change plate appearances. Let's round him out to 1,000 and we would be at better numbers. Those are good numbers. Justin Turner, Matt Shaw, PCA. Turner and Shaw, mix and matchy. And PCA, I just say at this point, it's been a minute. We're still at 29.35. He's down to 245, 286, 476. Hasn't been pretty. Where are we at here? Let's see. Since August 15th, PCA, 2 home runs, 5 steals, but caught 3 times, slashing 209, 269, 313 with a 59 WRC plus and a 104 ISO. You take that to the All-Star break, July 18th. 207, 257, 348 with a 65 WRC plus, 4 home runs, 4 stolen bases. That's since July 18th. Even July 1, he picks up another 4 home runs, gets to 8, but that's 2 games really. He had 2 home run games over that extra week and change, that extra 10 days. Still at 223, 273, 97 with an 81 WRC plus, just a 174 ISO. Most of PCA's incredible season happened in the first half. It's been a solid 2 months since he's been any good at all. Cubs bats, Mets bats, Cade Horton, David Peterson. Really, all 4 of those things are tied kind of just in like a mediocre, could play anything, nothing looks great kind of a level. Better pitchers here, we'd be going pitching. Neutral park, we'd be going bats against these pitchers. Some things working back and forth in different directions here. Twins and the Rangers. Javier calling for PCA to get hot in the playoffs. Hey, wouldn't shock me. Everything as far as hot is just backward looking anyway. That's a good ball player. Wouldn't surprise me if he had a few good playoff games and then we look backward and say, whoa, had a hot playoffs. Tiz saying, I'm building lineups right now trying to figure out why the heck Julio Rodriguez is 4,300 on DraftKings. Who the hell are they playing? Rockies? I had not noticed that. Yeah, that is stupid. That doesn't make any sense at all. Eugenio's 4,000. Yeah, that I was gonna talk up the Mariners anyway. I really like this spot against McCade Brown. But knowing that they're that cheap, that is just stupid. No wonder they were spiking value on the board. We'll get there in a minute. Zebby at 74, at 73, 25% strikeouts, but a 5.97 ERA, but a 3.85 xFIP. There's some back and forth there. A lot of premium contact is kind of where I get wary. Handful of walks, not really problematic, but a lot of guys on base. And when you throw the on base, you throw a little bad luck into the equation against all the premium contact and power. Even with the Rangers kind of scuffling their way through the season, we're seeing some home run upside here with 3 of these guys above the magic number. We're seeing it in the Vegas total at 4.58. And Zebby just hasn't been on form over the last few. I think he's just kind of hitting the wall. 3 innings in the last one, gave up 9 earned runs on 11 hits to my Yankees, 2 strikeouts, 2 walks, and a home run allowed. 4 2/3, gave up 5 earned runs to the Angels, struck out 5 and walked 2 in that one. A decent 1-run game, but it was against the White Sox. 2 earned runs against the Padres is not bad, but only struck out 3 over 6 innings. Against the White Sox in the game before that one, gave up 4 earned runs. It's been a minute since we've seen all that much quality out of Zebby. I don't think we need it. 7,400, it's not like he's priced dissimilar to options that we actually like, but he is in play given some strikeout potential and some strikeouts available in this lineup. Patty Corbin at 66.77 has a 4.33 ERA, a 4.18 xFIP. For a minute, it was looking like a strong Corbin season. He's not really finishing it all that strong, and those numbers aren't great. Slightly below average, basically across the board. Last time out on the 19th, he went just an inning, faced 6 hitters. Not sure what that's about. 2 earned runs, didn't strike anybody out, but obviously wasn't very good. That was a relief appearance, and that was 4 days ago through an inning. I didn't catch that. I don't know what to make of that. I think I only have him at 5 anyway, so I'm not going to change anything because of it. But if anything, the fact that he threw an inning just in random relief 4 days ago probably takes an inning of potential ceiling away from him, from a pitcher we weren't going to for ceiling anyway. So just scratch Patty Corbin off your list. He's just not good, and we want to target him with Twins bats anyway. 404 implied total feels a little bit light. Byron Buxton at the top has a 15 and change in the home run model, but nobody else above more than like 2/3 of the way there. Buxton's got 31 and 24 stolen bases with a 275 ISO, just superstar caliber season out of him. And the best thing, the plate appearances. Austin Martin's been on a little bit of a tear, 293, 381, 386 over 162 plate appearances, creating runs better than average by 20 points. Not bad. Not a masher up there, but very low strikeout, very high walk. Kind of the ideal guy to throw at Patty Corbin in the mix as a table setter. Ryan Jeffers makes good contact. He's at a 6.53 in the home run model. Luke Keeschel, who's been outstanding, is at a 6.24. Keeschel doesn't score with a ton of power upside, hasn't made great contact, but he's slashing 304, 384, 48. He's hit 4 home runs, stolen 13 bases, getting on creating runs 34% better than average. Very reasonable option at price. You've got Royce Lewis for 32, 3,000 to help offset any price concerns. And really with Martin, Jeffers, and Lewis all as cheap as they are, that's easy to stack that Twins team. 13 home runs, 12 stolen bases on the board for Royce Lewis. Hasn't been a good year, but there's a lot of talent there. 90 WRC plus is obviously bad, but the premium contact numbers are good. Sub 20% strikeout. Again, that's a good right-handed bat to throw at a bad left-handed pitcher. Carson McCusker is in the lineup. Dead min price on DraftKings, 2,100 on FanDuel. This dude has thunder from the right side. If you remember, he was here for a minute early in the season. And we got into the play that day. And we're going to do it again. 22 home runs and 438 AAA plate appearances. He's 27 years old. So we're probably more into like the quad A Crash Davis-y kind of power bat. But had a 233 ISO, slashed just 246, 316, 479, and struck out 33.8% of the time at AAA. There's your problem. But if he gets into one, if he happens to make contact, that could be a very, very cheap home run against Patrick Corbin. Brooks Lee, mix and match quality, 16 home runs at 85 WRC plus. Cody Clemens in the lineup against the lefty, 3,000, 2,900. Lefty's not going to help him, but we can get a shot for some major premium contact once we chase Corbin. Wouldn't skip him, but I don't love the 3,000 at first base. 29 at any position is a lot more palatable. Deadman price for Christian Vasquez, not really an appealing catcher bat, though. On the Rangers side, Jock Peterson into the leadoff role for only 2,800 against the homer-prone and power-prone righty. That's definitely interesting. Very, very cheap for Jock. He's got 8 home runs and 290. I know it's not been a good season, but the real Jock Peterson's in there somewhere. He's got a decent, at least, barrel rate, hard hit rate. So definitely interested in going to that spot if I'm considering anything from Texas. Wyatt Langford at 45.34, reasonably priced, 22 home runs, 22 steals, and 118 WRC plus. And then everybody in this lineup that is a decent lineup, there are names in here. Below average WRC plus, limited bad seasons. Adolis Garcia in and out of the lineup. He's in the 5 spot for 39, 31, 18 homers, 13 steals, and 83 WRC plus. Terrible, terrible season. Josh Smith, Jake Berger in between him and Langford. Smith, mix and match quality guy, a little bit of hit to a little bit of on base. On base is probably his best skill. Low strikeout, high walk. Not a lot else, but a contributor around the edges. Correlated scoring, very cheap at every position on FanDuel. Like him a lot less as a $3,800 shortstop on DraftKings. 36.29 for Jake Berger. 16 home runs is a disappointment. 190 ISO, a little bit disappointing, but the premium contact's been there basically all year. Bad output, good contact. Alejandro Osuna has been let down over 158 plate appearances. There is a little bit of talent there, but just not right now. Probably not fully cooked. Josh Young, Kyle Higashioka, and Cody Freeman mix and match pieces all. Young is the most talented guy down there. 14 home runs, but a weak slash line and 92 WRC plus. Higgy's gotten himself up to 11 home runs. That's his second highest total now after the 10 he's hit most seasons and the 17 he hit last year. But you're just looking for a rando cheap catcher home run. If you're going to Higgy, he doesn't do much else than barrel the occasional ball. And then Cody Freeman, decent numbers in the minors, but not much in the majors yet. I'm going to turn it on its head, and I'm going to say Twins bats, then Rangers bats, then Patty Corbin, and then Zebby. Actually, flip Zebby and Corbin. Zebby, then Corbin. But still, bats above pitching in that one. And Twins above Rangers, I think. Royals and the Angels. Angels lineup is in. Mike Trout in the leadoff spot. They're going up against Cole Ragans, who I would like Cole Ragans quite a bit in this spot if we had fully healthy and stretched out over the course of a full season, rounding out his September version of Cole Ragans rather than just returning from the injured list. Second start back, went 3 and change in his first start back, and unlikely to go more than 5 innings, if that, in this start. Just a recipe for disaster at 8,800. I believe in the projections, but I think that's also your ceiling number today because we're just not getting beyond the innings pitched that he's got in the model. So that's about it. Does that work at 88? I don't think so. And then you've got enough upside and then enough guys at cheap prices who could come in and do essentially what he's projected to do here. So I think it's pretty much a stay away spot for a guy who's an incredibly talented pitcher, which is unfortunate against this team. That's not the wallet inspector. How did I get the Cubs lineup? It's weird. I must not have copied that. Must have been the one I did right before. Anyway. So a lot of right-handed thunder in this lineup, too, to throw at the lefty. Not that that's the biggest threat in the world for Cole Ragans, but it's in there. A lot of Ks, though, as well. On the other, it's 63 at 62, striking out 16%, walking 20% over 4 1/3 in relief. Again, just a couple of 2-inning outings. I don't think we're getting much here. Actually, probably got him getting too much. Where's that projection coming from? Is that what I had him on earlier? Or did something change in here? Hang on. You know what? I think I had him a little bit too high. I'm going to knock him down some in the update. That's a little bit too high for my tastes. I don't think we're getting the depth. I don't think we've got enough to really believe in the decent strikeout stuff, but that's all lower level minors. Up to AA, he had solid strikeout numbers through last year, and then kind of hit the wall this year as far as Ks, mostly in AA, 23 AA starts. And we pitched to just a 19% strikeout rate in the minors, 10% walks. Not great. Was decent at keeping the ball in the yard and has been throughout his journey to the majors. So far in the show, that hasn't really been the case, but it's a limited sample. I'm not sure what created that projection. I really thought I had him lower than that when I did the numbers earlier. I hope I didn't accidentally put somebody else too low and just have my eyes jump. We'll keep an eye out for that as we go through. But yeah, 2 innings in the last appearance. That's what it is. I'm an idiot. I forgot about the minor leagues. As I'm talking about the AA numbers and the AAA numbers. So he was stretched out down there. 5 innings on the 11th, 7 innings on the 5th, 8 innings back on August 30th. It's been like a start here, a start there. But the depth is actually there. That's where I rounded out to giving him the innings. All right, so that makes sense. I still think this projection is too high, though. I'm going to pull that down, but it's at least reasonable of where that came from now that I think it through. All right, good. Not completely lost. So, yeah, I don't think we're going to Aliati. And I could have just left it at that because the Royals are very good. They're low strikeout, and they're pulling a 4.72 implied total, and he's been bad. Anyway, too long on Sammy Aliati. Michael Garcia, 46-31 at the top of the projected version of the Royals lineup. This is not yet confirmed, but he's tremendous, and if he's leading off, so much the better. That is an excellent skill set to have in that spot. 351 on base, 120 WRC plus, hits for power, gets on base, correlated scoring, and has speed. Would love him in the leadoff role here. Bobby Witt in the 2 spot at shortstop. Any given slate, you can absolutely have Bobby Witt in any lineup against essentially any pitcher. Vinny Pasquantino is only 43-31. Speaking of cheap DraftKings options, he's got 31 home runs on the board. He's driven in 107 this year, 210 ISO, 118 WRC plus. Who's better than Vinny? Sal Perez at 41-31 has 30 home runs on the board at 216 ISO. No, don't let anybody tell you that Sal's washed. Cheap too on 41 on DraftKings where you have to play catcher. Come on. Jonathan India's had a bad year, 326 on base and 88 WRC plus, mix and matchy at second base. If he's in the lineup, Randall Grichuk has major power from the right side. That is an interesting bat, regardless almost of where he's hitting. 26-23, he's very cheap. 8 home runs, a 169 ISO, and 282 plate appearances, but thunder from the right side for sure. Jack Caglianone, struggling in his major league career so far. A lot of power in the bat. Lefty, I'm not sure we see him, but against a minor league lefty, maybe we get him. There's upside there for sure, but mix and matchy from the bottom of the lineup. Luke Maile, Tyler Tolbert, also mix and matchy type guys. Maile is getting on base over his 52 plate appearances. Hasn't done a lot, but the on base has been a little bit interesting. The walks have been high in a small sample. And Tyler Tolbert in a ridiculously small sample, 52 plate appearances, 18 stolen bases, a 333 on base. Dude's got wheels. Top of the Angels, Mike Trout, Nolan Schanuel in an interesting order. Those are completely backward, but that's okay. Protecting Schanuel against the lefty, I guess, is the idea there. Not that Trout doesn't get on base, but Schanuel doesn't hit for power, and certainly not against the lefty. So you'd rather have it the other way around. But Trout, 45-32, 22 home runs, a 357 on base, a 113 WRC plus. Anything that we're concerned about with the dip in quality from Mike Trout, who hit his 400th home run the other day? Same day as Giancarlo hit his 450th. Anything we're worried about is taken care of in the price discounts. So I think you just go there. Schanuel's playable at 32-28. We're just looking for him to get on base. Taylor Ward, Joe Adell, priority bats in this lineup at 42-43 and 33-31. Those are affordable prices for guys with 34 and 36 home runs, respectively. 115 WRC pluses. Logan O'Hoppe at 4,000 at 2,700 has 19 home runs. He's cooled off a little bit, but there's still power there from an affordable catcher, if nothing else, on DraftKings. Ozzy Peraza, Christian Moore, Denzer Guzman, and Bryce Teodosio are at best mix and match options. One of those 4 guys is above the Mendoza line, and it's Bryce Teodosio, the guy you'd probably least suspect. 35, 87, 50, and 48 WRC plus marks. 220. Their WRC plus as a 4-man unit only barely outpaces Aaron Judge's by 21 points on his own. That's bananas. Yeah, this entire bottom end is bad. Any one of those guys drops into your lineup, fine. Spot filler. round out a lineup, fine. You do not want more than one of those guys. Royals bats, Angels bats. Really don't want Aldieri, and don't think Raggins is going to give you enough for 88. The aforementioned stupid cheap Mariners. I like that spot way more than I did, and I was in love with that spot against McCade Brown coming into the show. Now that I realize how cheap those DraftKings prices are, forget it. So McCade Brown, while having a very Wild West sounding kind of a name, just sounds to me like a sheriff on a 1980s, played by Chuck Norris. Right? Chuck Norris is McCade Brown. He's going to bring law to 1840s Kansas. 5,000 on DraftKings, 6,000 on FanDuel. He's pitching to an 11.8% strikeout rate, a 14% walk rate, 9.17 ERA. I think Chuck Norris could actually pitch better than this. Fire away with Mariners bats against nearly a 5 implied total. Bryce on the other side, 7,000, 7,500, going up against one of the most targetable teams in all of baseball, nearly a 26% strikeout rate overall. Bryce has been bad this year. He was hurt for most of the season, pitched poorly when he was healthy, 5.58 ERA, 4.63 xFIP. Neither of those numbers is good, but the xFIP is at least nearly a run lower. 19.4% strikeout, 8.8% walk is nearly unrecognizable from the guy who was this guy last year. Same deal the year before. So he's just been off form all year long. But he's been a slight bit better in a couple recent outings since coming back from his most recent stint on the IL. 3 earned runs over 5 to KC the last time out, struck out 4, walked 2. That's an okay start against that KC team. 5 2/3, gave up 4 on 2 home runs and 6 hits total against LA, but struck out 11 against that heavy with LA team that is kind of like this Rockies team, but with way more power and higher quality bats. So big strikeout day potentially in the cards for Miller. The fact that he faced 23 hitters, got out to 5 2/3, pitch count got up there while he was striking out all those guys. I like the upside. I really, really do. And at 7,000 on DraftKings, it's kind of a no-brainer. 75 on FanDuel. Considering that I can count on my 6, 5 2/3 in that one, 5 1/3 the start before that, and a full 6 on August 31st. So we've been getting 5 reliably and upside to 6. That's all we need. 7,500 is dirt cheap. Face the Rockies. My hope would be FanDuel. Maybe people don't do it as aggressively as he should be owned on DraftKings. The overall hope would be that he's not as aggressive, as popular as he ought to be on both sides. But again, I think your path to lowering either of Heel or Miller's ownership is probably playing them together rather than playing them paired with a top end ace. Let's see. Yeah, he's number 2. But I tell you what, Luis Heel is not highly owned on DraftKings, which is a mistake. I know he hasn't been great. I get it. But he's just barely into the double digits at that price. So if you put him together with Bryce Miller, you're knocking that ownership way, way down. That is a good pairing. Might not work. No guarantees. Not a single thing on this show, this slate, or this entire season has been a guarantee. We're just hunting for reasonable ideas. And that's a reasonable idea. Luis Heel should be more highly owned. Miller's very popular. But you can bring it right down while saving all that money by just pairing him with Heel. Rockies bats against Freeman. Decent hit tool up at the top. Gets on base. Succeeds via BABIP. Not all that much else going on. Can steal you a base. More correlated scoring guy overall. Mickey Moniak, Hunter Goodman are both good. 24 home runs on the board for Mickey, a 251 ISO, a 111 WRC plus, and hopefully found a home. Nobody seems to want this guy. Hunter Goodman at 48.31, differently priced across sites. Much more expensive on DraftKings where you need catcher. Fills in the outfield as well on FanDuel for just 31. It's a good buy on the FanDuel slate. He's hit 30 home runs on the season, a 244 ISO, 119 WRC plus. Excuse me. Blaine Krim has been barreling the ball like crazy over 49 plate appearances, resulted in 4 home runs, a 310 ISO, a 105 WRC plus. He's not that guy. He's a quad A type player, but of course, field environment benefits, PCL environment benefits, and bolsters numbers. We'll see how he does in a more pitcher-friendly Seattle ballpark against a good pitcher. Don't love the upside for Krim, but if I'm going to Rockies, he's probably in play because of how cheap he is at first base. Jordan Beck is interesting at 33.29, 15 homers, 19 steals, a decent season, hiding kind of obscured by some bad numbers in there, but that's a decent DFS season. And it's the same for Brenton Doyle a couple spots later. Good counting stats out of both of those guys. A lot of hard hits, a lot of barrels out of Brenton Doyle. In between, you get Ezekiel Tovar, who also barrels the ball pretty frequently. He's down to a pretty cheap price, too, for a guy who hit 26 home runs last year. He's got 8 this season in 366 chances, just a 142 ISO. It hasn't been good, but the strikeout dip, the walk push is interesting. It's just a couple points in either direction, but it's interesting. More a next year thing to remember. Kyle Karros, Ryan Ritter, we're at that part of the year where it's like, oh, remember this for next year. Kyle Karros, Ryan Ritter, mix and matchy down the bottom of the lineup. No real reason to go to those guys to attack Bryce Miller. The Mariners are stupid good, stupid cheap, and ridiculous. Cal Raleigh for 64. Price doesn't really matter when everybody else is below 5,000 on this highly talented team going up against a batting tee of a pitcher with a 5-run total. And this is the part where I tell you that as high as those Mariners home run model numbers are, I actually lowered them artificially. They were stupid. They were broken. It was a small sample thing with McCabe Brown. I brought him down into normalized territory, and they look really, really good. Cal Raleigh's got 58 on the season. Can we get to 60? Can we get to 60 plus? Who knows? Best catcher season of all time. You just want Cal Raleigh. Randy Arozarena, 49-34, has had a dynamite season. 27 homers, 28 steals, 333 on base, a 120 WRC plus. Tremendous option in the outfield. Julio, as mentioned in the chat, 4,300. I assume they were trying to type 5,300 and the guy just fat fingered it and typed 43, or the algorithm just got distracted by something. I do not understand that price. 31 home runs, 28 stolen bases, a 207 ISO, a 352 xWOBA, 125 WRC plus. Absolutely electric second half. I just don't get it. That's ridiculous. You can see where he's priced on FanDuel. He's 41. That's commensurate with a $6,000 price on DraftKings. He is $1,700 too cheap on DraftKings. Take advantage. Josh Naylor at 44, a little bit cheap. 291, 350, 458 season, a 125 WRC plus, 20 homers, 28 stolen bases. Jorge Polanco at 4,000, 3,000, 24 homers, 222 ISO, 129 WRC plus. Has been tremendous this year. Eugenio, 47 homers out of him. We got a shot at 50. 300 ISO for the full season, a 13.15, the second guy in the home run model above the magic number. Dominic Canzone, ripping baseballs all season long, 13.8% barrels and 50% hard hits from the left side, 10 home runs in 249 chances. Dominic Canzone is good. That's an interesting down lineup option. Just went off for a 2-home run game the other day. Victor Robles, JP Crawford, at worst, very talented mix and match type guys down the bottom. Robles can get on base. He's in the 12 to 15 home run range over a full season, and he can steal bases. Right now, the on-base only at 290 over a handful of plate appearances, but that is a good player for a cheap price who can create counting stats. And J.P. Crawford gets on base like crazy. He's also got 12 home runs on the board this year. He's got a little pop in the bat. Doesn't really show up in the form of barrels or hard hits or anything, but situational power for sure. Hit a grand slam to win the game the other day. Mariners bats way, way up top. Priority on DraftKings given those cheap prices. FanDuel, just as big a priority, but they're more expensive, harder to reach. Bryce Miller after them, really nothing Rockies. But if you're going to Rockies, it's definitely the bats, not the pitcher. I cannot emphasize enough how stupid broken that price on Julio is. Just play Julio. What was their standing price? He's still 45. I mean, if you're just in the spirit of like, I want to play 2 one-offs in my DraftKings lineup, $4,500 Giancarlo Stanton and $4,300 Julio Rodriguez are ridiculous options, and build from there. Put those 2 guys and the 2 cheap pitchers in your lineup and buy whatever you want. Kind of wish I was playing on DraftKings today. Brendan Pfaadt. Kind of wish we were already through the other side of this start so I could just pat myself on the back for having put Brandon Pfaadt in my lineup rather than sweating this start. 5.02 ERA, but a much, much better 3.97 xFIP. That is a monster difference between those 2 numbers. 19.1% strikeout, not exactly elite at racking up the strikeouts this year, but it comes against just a 4.8% walk. 1.34 whip means that he's given up some BABIP in there. Getting a little bit unlucky on some batted balls. He's also given up a lot of premium contact this year, though. So it's not all luck. 11% barrels, 45% hard hits, 90.9 miles an hour of exit velo, alarmingly above our thresholds in each of those, and should be above a 4% home run rate. But a lot of that has turned into this as opposed to that, is just what the difference is there. So keeping launch on a couple of them a little bit down. 11.9 is a non-tragic launch angle. A little bit more launch, and that's a much uglier home run number. There's good in there. There's bad in there. Again, Pfaadt coming off his best career start, 9 innings, 1 hit the other day. Solid strikeout day, 7 strikeouts, 1 walk, 1 hit. That was against the Giants. Giants, not quite the team the Dodgers are, but they're not terrible either. There's a lot of good bats in that lineup. Some better ones in this one. And then Mr. Ohtani. So, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, no problems on DraftKings. 8,000 for Ohtani. It's the usual spot. I don't expect more than 5, but we'll probably get our 5. He's going up against a good Diamondback squad that's drawing a 4+ implied total. They're not a big strikeout target, so I don't love it. Just going to the handicap start there for the price. I think he should be cheaper knowing that we're getting 5 innings. And then on FanDuel, he's 8,200, which is a pitcher price, but he's listed in the outfield, but he's got the pitcher tag on him. Anybody's guess. I have no idea what he's going to be on FanDuel. I assume you're getting his outfield points, not his pitcher points, just because that's where he slides. Like, you actually have to click the outfield spot to put him in the outfield, not the pitcher spot. But unless they put a note up, I don't want to make any promises. If you go to Ohtani on FanDuel in the outfield and you're getting his scoring, it's a really, really weird way to make a crazy contrarian pivot, because there's no way in hell he's going to be popular at that price. And it's still Shohei Ohtani. So yeah, you're paying essentially double for him. But if you did that and went to a stupid cheap pitcher as and used him as part of a Dodger stack against all the downside of Brandon Pfaadt, it will be definitely very differentiated. There's no two ways about it. Paying double for Ohtani is not a good idea, but it will be a unique idea. I'd probably rather have him as a pitcher. Just so dumb. Like, it's been years now, FanDuel. How have we not figured this shit out yet? I just don't get it. DraftKings doesn't seem to have this problem. Taking Ohtani out of the Dodger stack on DraftKings does ding them a little bit as far as their playability goes, but they've still got some excellent options. Mookie Betts rounding into form over the last couple of months. He's up to 20 home runs quietly. 339 xWOB under the surface, up to a 106 WRC plus, looking a hell of a lot more like Mookie Betts. Price is coming back up, but still very playable. Freddie Freeman at 49.36, Max Muncy at 48.31. Neither as cheap as Julio Rodriguez, even though he's been better than both of them this season and in recent games. Freddie, though, tremendous year this year, 134 WRC plus. Numbers across the board are excellent. Max Muncy, all the power in the world from the left side. Also an excellent 3 true outcomes hitter. Gets on base like crazy, 16.8% walk. And he's cut strikeout by 5 points this year. Teoscar Hernandez, Tommy Edman, Andy Pages. Edman, Pages, on the lower end of those 3. Teoscar's got star caliber power. 24 home runs, a 204 ISO. Pages, 25 home runs, 14 stolen bases, a 187 ISO, 116 WRC plus. Some dip around the edges as the season has gone on, but overall, that is a tremendous, tremendous year. And then Edman found most of his quality in the first 3 weeks of the season. I think he had 10 of those 13 home runs, 163 ISO. It's just been a guy who's been a quality contributor over time, gets on base, steals the occasional base, can create runs out there. Very playable at a cheap price, mostly at second base. Move him around a little bit more on FanDuel. Mikey Conforto, 44% hard hits, 9.7% barrel. The quality never arrived. A little bit late in the game now, but 203, 305, 342, and 85 WRC plus. I do think if you're going Dodgers against Brandon Pfaadt, you can probably roll out some cheap Michael Conforto. He's a lot better than, say, Ben Rortvedt in the next spot. Ben Rortvedt, just a catcher, not able to hit the ball at the major league level. D-back side, 3 stars up at the top. I'm giving Geraldo Perdomo that mantle. 19 home runs, 26 steals, a 391 on base. What a season, 138 WRC plus. And this is a player we've seen successfully get on base at the major league level over the last couple of years. That is an interesting player. Great table setter ahead of Ketel Marte, Corbin Carroll, 9.19, 8.93 in the home run model. Those guys are stars. Corbin Carroll, 31 homers, 30 stolen bases, and a number of other extremely good stats that led to him being the second ever player to do that combination of stats. And if I can't find it in the next couple seconds, I'm not going to tell you what it is, because I don't want to take too much time here at the end of the show. Let's see. Did I Is it this one? No, I think this is the guy kicking the ball. Yeah, I don't have it handy. There's some awesome combination of stats that Corbin Carroll put together this year that only one other person had ever done in history. I forget who it is, but it's in somebody's tweet out there in the world. So Carroll's awesome, 6,300, 4,400. Is he $2,000 better than Julio Rodriguez, though? Going up against Shohei Ohtani? I don't think so. Gavin Moreno at 43, 3,000. Solid 285 plate appearances. It's just a shame we didn't have a full season. I feel like this might have been a breakout. Right? That is breakout quality. 9 home runs, 291, 354, 450, 122 WRC plus. 4,300 still on DraftKings. Very, very cheap access into this lineup. Blaze Alexander's also been very good. Major source of premium contact, 7 home runs and 250 chances. Just a 305 XWOB and a 161 ISO. Something to watch there over the long term. 102 WRC plus. For any given slate, I think we're just focused on the cheap contact at third base. Ilamaro Vargas is just a mixer. Same with Alec Thomas. Same with James McCarthy. Same with James McCann and Jake McCarthy. Or James McCarthy and Jake McCann. James McCarthy is a longtime, very good friend of mine going back all the way to high school. When I went out to Cleveland, that's my buddy James McCarthy out there, JP, that we go visit. I think I told you guys he sold out his lifelong Yankee fandom to become a Guardians fan. Now that he's been out there like 10 years. Unforgivable. But at least they're enjoying themselves. This goes probably Dodgers bats. And then Diamondbacks bats. Ohtani fought, but it's probably actually the other way around on the pitchers ceiling wise. I think much lower floor for Brandon Pfaadt, but probably a higher ceiling considering that we can get him out to 9 innings, which we just can't get from Shohei Ohtani. Not saying it's gonna happen. Saying it can happen. So I think that ceiling-wise, they do flip. 3 to go. Brewers, Pods. Neither of these lineups is in. Neither of these pitchers is good. Brucey has not pitched in the show this year. He has in the past. Right, he didn't pitch in the show last year either. Yeah, it's been since 2023 since we had to put that stupid second in. I didn't realize he didn't pitch last year. Just 13 and a third in 2023. Struck out 23% and didn't walk anybody in those relief appearances. Made 13 starts back in 22. Pitched to a 5.99 ERA, a 4.42 exit. Didn't strike anybody out. Also didn't walk anybody. It seems to be his one positive attribute is that he manages walks fairly well. In the minors this year as a 29-year-old pitching mostly in AAA, 23 games, 15 starts, 76 and 2/3 innings. He pitched to a 4.34 ERA, a 4.29 xFIP, struck out 23.5%, walked 7.8. Meh. And then Randy Vasquez, 13% strikeouts in the show this year, 9.3%. Walks a 3.94 ERA, but exposed by a 5.56 xFIP, which is definitely the real number here. Fire away with Brewers bats, one of the better teams in baseball as far as sequencing and run creation goes. A little bit of power, a little bit of speed. They do a little bit of everything. And then Padres bats in a big, big way going up against Bruce Zimmerman, definitely on the board. We're just looking at offense in this game. Christian Yelich, 29 home runs, 16 stolen bases, drove in 102 this year and still counting, 194 ISO. Monster season from Yelich, who was never bad, just dipped for power output for a little while there as far as home runs, but never stopped hitting the ball hard. He is fantastic. Jackson Chourio at 48, 36, up to 20 home runs, 18 stolen bases. Probably swipes 2 over the last couple of days here to get to a 2020 season. 112 WRC plus, been tremendous. Bryce Turang's hit for a little bit more power this year while continuing to get on base like crazy, steal bases, create runs, 122 WRC plus, 355 on base. Should probably lead off ahead of those other two. This is still the projected version of the lineup, so keep that in mind. But in any order, those 3 are excellent. And they're followed by William Contreras, a fairly priced, high-quality catcher bat. 17 home runs, a 116 WRC plus, a 342 xWOB, telling us we could see an increase if time went on in those the slash line. 17.9% strikeout, 12.9% walk to go with that. Sal Frelick, 13.3% Ks, 8.1% walks. Andrew Vaughn, just 17.8% strikeouts, 6.7% walk, and makes great contact up there. 12.1% barrels, 47.7% hard hits. He's been very up and down throughout the season, but the underlying numbers for Vaughn are terrific. And that is a good bat. The peak, maybe he doesn't peak quite as high in like the average game going forward, but he's more like the peak player than he is like the downside player. So 34-29 for that guy. Really, really interesting at first base. Isaac Collins, Caleb Durbin, Joey Ortiz. The only guy who's worthless at the bottom of the lineup here is Joey Ortiz. 7 home runs, 14 stolen bases, a 68 WRC plus. Look where everybody else's WRC plus numbers are on this team. Just drags you down at the bottom of the lineup. 28-26 as a spot filler. He's inoffensive, but he's not good. Doesn't really strike out, doesn't walk that much, so a lot of balls in play at worst. Padres side, Fernando Tatis at 56-37, 23 homers, 32 steals. Been stuck at low power output, but it's not because of weak premium contact. Those numbers are excellent. Low strikeout, super high walk rate. Very interesting player from the top. Luis Arai is just a slap hitter, 286, 323, 82 season. Mix and match quality guy, if we're being honest. Manny Machado at 52-37 has 26 homers, 14 stolen bases, 183 ISO. I almost made him the home run pick of the day. Came from this team, but I didn't use Manny. He's at a 13.96, though. Second on the team behind 17.43. It's not Jackson Merrill, though he's in a 9.71. 4,500, 3,500 for him. Not a bad option. 15 homers on the board, a 189 ISO, 115 WRC plus. Bit of a dip in quality given some missed time, some injuries, some inconsistency compared to his last season, but still a solid follow-up. You give him another 200 plate appearances, we might have normalized those numbers. Xander Bogaerts back. How about that? Made it back for the end of the season. I didn't realize that. Good for him. 10 home runs, 20 stolen bases, 262, 330, 387, a 103 WRC plus. Bogey had a very nice little season for us. 3,200, 2,800 is a well-kept secret in this lineup. If he's back in the lineup today, he becomes interesting. Jose Iglesias, Jake Cronenworth, Freddie Furman. Freddie hits for average. Kind of interesting down the bottom of the lineup just as a cheap catcher spot filler for only 2,500. Just put the ball in play a few times. He's low strikeout, low walk. So you're getting a lot of low quality contact that just needs to turn into singles, maybe a double here and there. Cronenworth gets on base a lot. 369 on base, 120 WRC plus. Jose Iglesias is the one guy there that's not much of a bat. And then the guy we skipped over at a 12.22 in the home run model today for only 4,200, 3,100 in the midst of the best season of his life. 24 home runs on the board at 234 ISO. Got the night off yesterday. First night off since the beginning of August. Happened to coincide with this tight race for the top of the standings in the Dynasty League, in which he was in my lineup. So we're getting 5 games out of Ramon this week instead of 6. And we need our home run. Ramon Laureano, your home run pick of the day. Padres bats, Brewers bats, Brewers bats, Padres bats. Either order, 2 high priority teams. I do think the Padres is slightly over the Brewers, though. Cards, Giants. Giants lineup is in. Cards is not. Andre Pallante. Andre Pallante's one ongoing attribute is this. Keeping the ball in the yard. He's given up 3% home runs this year. Could be better. Has been better in the past. It's just that damn it. It's just that ability to keep the ball down that gives him any quality at all. He's only thrown 160 innings in his 30 starts. It's not like he's even eating innings. He walks too many. He puts way too many guys on base at that 1.44 whip. So even though he keeps the ball in the park, 5.29 ERA, he still gets burnt for runs. There's just too many guys on base, too many opportunities for opposing teams. Against this Giants team in a pitcher-friendly park, could he find success over 6 innings for your 65, for your 66? Yes, I think he could. I don't think he's got a lot of ceiling on this number, though, given the almost total lack of strikeouts that he comes with. So there's a lot of downside and only a sliver of good side and not much ceiling beyond these projections. Logan Webb, on the other hand, one of the top pitcher of the day, 26% strikeouts against just 5.4% walks is tremendous. 3.27 ERA with a 2.81 xFIP is fantastic. He's also terrific at limiting premium contact and power, keeping the ball in the yard, 5.5 degree average launch, a 1.72% home run rate. Logan Webb is tremendous, will be popular, well worth it. Cards are at best a lower middle end team. 3-2-1 implied total today. If you're going in that direction, Brendan Donovan got the night off yesterday. I think he's still healthy, though. I think he'll be in the lineup. If he's not, don't play him. 36-28. He's affordable. He's a table setter. He's all right. But Against Logan Webb, there's not a lot of quality there. Ivan Herrera at 45-34, definitely a good season out of him, but I'm not looking to use a bat like that against Logan Webb. He's, we're getting our quality from home run balls out of him more often than not. I don't like that against Webb. Alec Burleson at 4,200, 18 homers, a solid season at 293, 345, 465, one of their better bats, but still, you're looking at low strikeout, lower medium walk, and hoping to BABIP Logan Webb to death. I don't love it. Arenado's just bad now. 236, 290, 365, 10 home runs. Told you opening day that swing was broken. Lars Nootbaar at 34, 28, 13 home runs in a bad season for him too. Came into the season with a highly regarded bat, has not delivered, made good contact throughout the year, but didn't turn it into anything at all. This is 566 plate appearances too. It's not like that's a short sample. Thomas Segisi, Jimmy Crooks, Victor Scott, mix and match quality at best. Victor Scott steals bases if he happens to be on, but he only gets on at a 301 clip. And then the lost man here, Jordan Walker. Just no quality at all this season, despite this kind of contact all year long. Strikes out way too much, doesn't draw enough walks. One last time for the year. His rookie season 2 years ago, completely underrated. Solid slash line, 116 WRC plus, 16 homers, and they've been just jerking him around ever since. He has difficulty staying in the lineup, staying healthy. It's just a problem. But the kid's got major talent, and he's still only 22. This is another one next year. Next year, I'm telling you. Giants side, Elliot Ramos up in the top, 36-31 across sites, 19 homers, a 139 ISO, a 106 WRC plus. Dipped majorly in quality in the second half. Still a lot of power from the right side there, but again, we're not really home run hunting against Andre Palante, so it doesn't really collide well with what Palante's likely to do out there. Rafi Devers definitely in play. 33 home runs out of him, a 221 ISO, 133 WRC plus. I think we could start there pretty confidently at 53, 4,000, but the price is back up. Willie Adames' price hasn't really budged, 42-37, or at least not on DraftKings. 37 on FanDuel is more correct. He's up to 28 home runs and 11 stolen bases, a 106 WRC plus. 100 less than Julio Rodriguez. Matty Chapman for 41-34, also mispriced on DraftKings. 21 home runs in 518 plate appearances, 200 ISO out of him. Don't sleep on Bryce Eldridge. If you're going to the Giants, this is a priority bat. 2,500, 2,700. I made him the home run pick of the day 2-3 days ago. Had a big day. He didn't hit a home run for us, but had a decent day. Slashing 059, 273, 118. So we must have gotten his one or two hits and all three of these RBIs on that run that day. But this is a kid who hit a lot in the minors and is one of the premium power prospects in baseball. He's only 20 also. He's about to turn 21. Getting a cup of coffee here. 433 plate appearances across AA and AAA this year. 25 home runs, a 250 ISO, 260, 333, 510. Again, do not sleep on Bryce Eldridge if you're going to the Giants. Honestly, at 2,500 at first base, 27 in the outfield on FanDuel, that's a reasonable enough one-off. The only downside is that launch angle. It's the one downside in the Eldridge play today. Jung-Hoo Lee, mix and match line drive hitter, Patty Bailey, Christian Koss, and Drew Gilbert, all up and down. You want one of those guys types down lineup, but any one of those guys is fine as a spot filler to round out a stack. Giants probably better utilized as a short stack today. Maybe you're looking at like a 4-man there, or like, Rafi, Eldridge, and one of those two. Something along those lines. There's obviously room for 5, but it's probably better deployed as a shorter one, especially if we're giving Palante any credit for maybe checking home run a little bit. Logan Webb, way up top, followed by Giants bats, followed by Palante, and then at the bottom of this list, the Cards, and they're toward the bottom of the overall board entirely. Bandbox in Sacramento for the last week of the season. It should be fun. A's lineup is in. Astros lineup is not. Jeremy Pena's been banged up the last few days. We'll see whether he makes it into the lineup or not. Obviously, it would be a big boost to the Astros if he is, because he's been terrific this year. If he's not, don't play him. Christian Javier at 68 at 77, 22% strikeouts, but it comes against 10% walks. It hasn't been bad with home runs, but that could change in a hurry given the 22.7 degree average launch angle so far this year in this ballpark with the home run hitters on the other side. Just doesn't feel like a good spot. 4.45 ERA, 4.86 xFIP doesn't really project like a good spot either. I think you could maybe at 68 slide a few shares through on DraftKings. But as I've said before, that's a really fat camel and a really skinny eye on that needle. Jeffrey Springs is just out of play. 19.5% strikeouts, a 4.17 ERA, a 4.60 xFIP, and tons of premium contact and power resulting in home runs. I just don't want to go there against a very good Astros lineup. The Stros, if Pena's there, obviously, again, it's a bonus. 45.32 is very affordably priced for a guy with 17 homers, 20 steals, and that slash line, 135 WRC plus. Carlos Correa hits the ball very hard all season long. 13 home runs, a solid slash line, a 104 WRC plus out of him. Remains incredibly cheap on both sites. Shortstop, third base eligible on both. Isaac Paredes, 37-31. He's got 20 home runs and 421 plate appearances, a 213 ISO. I imagine this park plays well for his power. I'm not even going to bother. I'm sure it does. Jose Altuve, Christian Walker, quality bats in the middle, 3,900 and 3,700, 3,031 over here. Altuve's got 26 home runs, 10 stolen bases, and all of this looks a lot like Jose Altuve. I'm not really sure why he's quite as cheap as he is. That's a good asset at second base. And Christian Walker's made great contact all year. He's up to 23 home runs, just a 167 ISO, just a 317 xWOBA, hides the quality, 92 WRC plus. It's not a lot to like outside of the contact, which is reminiscent of the guy he used to be. If we're just home run hunting against a pitcher who gives up home runs in a home run friendly park, Christian Walker is a priority in that lineup. Jainer Diaz, you can make some of those same arguments, and he's got a better hit tool. 19 home runs, a 158 ISO. Disappointed throughout the season, but made good contact, super low strikeout, very low walk. So you get a ton of that good contact for 3,500 at catcher where you have to play the position, 28 where you don't. Jake Myers, Cam Smith, Mauricio Dubon down lineup, all mix and match quality. Any one of those guys could connect in this ballpark. Jake Myers has had a good season overall, but doesn't hit for a ton of power. Still the best option out of that group, 110 WRC plus just as a run creator. And then we close out with the A's. Nick Kurtz up at the top, 6,000, What a season. Literally one of the best rookie seasons that I can remember, if not the best. 33 home runs, a 322 ISO, a 168 WRC plus. Absolutely tremendous. Leading the team. A team that has Shea Langoliers, Brent Rooker, both at 30 home runs. This kid's got 33 in 464 plate appearances. Langoliers had 501 plate appearances to get his 30. Rooker had 680 to get his 30. That's an off-pace number for Brent Rooker. 223 ISO still. He's been fantastic all year. But the home run pace is a little bit light. He's been, again, it's not bad, but it's a little bit lightened. 4,500, 3,400, a little bit cheap on DraftKings too. Tyler Soderstrom, just 4,000, 3,100, 24 home runs, rock solid slash line, 124 WRC plus. He's been excellent. Jacob Wilson, 315, 357, 449, 122 WRC plus. I was just the other day years old when I learned that Jacob Wilson is the son of Jack Wilson, former Pittsburgh Pirate. Did not realize that. They had a little moment that mirrored when Jacob was a kid, threw out the first pitch to Jack, and they did it in reverse order. And that Jack is not old man. He's probably in his 40s, but he threw out the first pitch to Jacob. Lawrence Butler at 38, 3,000, 21 homers, 21 steals. It's been a disappointing season overall, but the counting stats are there. And he's very, very cheap in the outfield. Solid lefty bat. Darrell Arnaiz, Carlos Cortez, and Brett Harris mix and match options down lineup. Carlos Cortez is kind of interesting. 4 home runs and a good slash line in his 87 plate appearances. Comes with good premium contact. Not that many strikeouts or walks, so you get a lot of that. Again, small sample, but he had decent numbers if memory serves in the minors. That's an interesting bat, probably more so than Arnaiz or Brett Harris. Astros bats, A's bats, but you could easily have that A's bats, Astros bats. Really don't want either pitcher in this one. I think the ballpark just chews up these guys. And that's it. That is your slate. I got to figure out what I'm going to do with Sammy Aldieri's numbers. It's not going to impact too much. You don't want them. Just put it that way. Pitching board one last time. I've been ignoring the chat. Sorry, guys. Kenny Woodhouse says that according to OnlyFans, Shohei Ohtani is scoring in the outfield. I assume that's what you're saying, Kenny. All right, so they did put up a note. So Ohtani is outfield on FanDuel as he is positioned. So 8,200, obviously, again, paying double will definitely be contrarian. Probably not a good idea. Tampa versus Baltimore in a rain delay. It was Jimmy Rollins. Javier nailed it. It was Jimmy Rollins. and they extended whatever the stat line is there, 30 home runs, 30 stolen bases, 15 triples. They added like 2 or 3 more stats. And Willie Mays, of all people, was the one squeezed out of that box. It was Corbin Carroll and Jimmy Rollins, I believe, if I remember correctly. I would have stuck a little bit better if it was Willie Mays. But yeah, it was part of that. That's astounding that they boxed Willie Mays out of it, though. Ridiculous. Tiz saying I'm trying not to have too much Julio now. Honestly, I don't know that there is such a thing as too much Julio in that spot at that price. That is ridiculous. So to break this down quick, because I got to get updates in and build some lineups. Logie Webb up at the top of the board on his own, offset by projection and justifiably so. I think that's correct. I think he's easily the best pitching option on the slate. Gausman, a lot of questions against that hard-hitting, decent Red Sox lineup at those prices, but believably the number 2 option there. Cole Ragans, this is a reasonable projection, but it is also probably your ceiling. He is probably not going more than 5. The same thing is true about Shohei Ohtani in the 4 spot, probably not going higher than that number. So I like Luis Gil with a little bit of additional upside, and especially at that $7,600 price tag on DraftKings. That is just stupid, as we've talked about. Hurston Waldrop, definitely talented. Those are high prices to pay, though, and that Nationals lineup at least a little bit of friskiness to it. Zebby, not very good. 73, 74, I believe in where he's at the on the board, and there's maybe a little ceiling that comes with that, but just also a gigantic trapdoor of a fall into the basement and land on a bunch of spikes and just lay there while the rats eat you. That one got a little graphic. Bryce Miller against Colorado. Love that spot at 7,000. Would play at 75 on FanDuel. Javier, kind of a hard no, even at price. Between the pitchers in that game out in Sacramento, I would lean toward Christian Javier like the board does here. But really skeptical about what the quality actually looks like there. Giolito, playable, but 83 doesn't feel right against that low strikeout team. Again, Aldieri's going to get knocked down from those numbers. You don't want Aldieri there. Brad Lord, ugh. David Peterson against the Cubs. Thought. I'm playing it. Don't like it. Springs, Shane Smith, again, 74-72 for Shane Smith. Might be one of the weirdly better options up there because nobody's going to play him. He's going to be crazy low owned, and he's got that good swinging strike rate. And we've seen that exact type guy beat this Yankees team before for decent DFS scores. So that's a guy to keep in mind, much more so to me than Patty Corbin, Andre Palante, Cade Horton even, Bruce Zimmerman, Randy Vasquez. So it's an ugly, weird pitching slate. There's a lot of plays. There's a lot of angles. This has every angle, and it only has one straight line. Straight line Logan Webb. Everything else is oblique. Everything else is an angle. With that, guys, I can't come up with any more geometry references, so we're out of time. Let me punch out of here. Wish everybody good luck tonight. Somebody go win something. Good luck out there tonight. Somebody go win something. How do I usually say it? Good luck out there tonight, gang. Somebody go win something. The website is rotoscouts.com, by the way. Everything's under $1 a day. And I forgot to mention all through the show, for the last 20 people who are here, promo code WEEKFREE, WEEKFREE, all one word, all in caps, gets your free week right now. I tweeted it a bunch. Not a lot of people saw it. Not a lot of people took advantage of it. It was open over the weekend for football. If you pick it up right now on a weekly plan, your week is free. You can get that free week and then cancel it next week if you want to. I'd prefer you didn't. Hopefully you see some success and see the quality. But you pick it up right now, get to this baseball slate, every baseball slate through the weekend, get to this weekend's football slate. Promo code WEEKFREE. It was like a week 3 thing. Week free. All in caps. Check it out. Follow at Rotoscouts Twitter. So good luck out there tonight. Somebody go win something. Share those results when you do at Rotoscouts on Twitter. Free premium Discord linked in the description below this video. And we will be back tomorrow. Probably another late start tomorrow. I got some errands to run during the mid part of the afternoon. So I'm going to be hustling a little bit, but I'm going to try my damnedest to be here for a show. Don't want to miss any shows this last few days of the season. So stay tuned for scheduling, guys, but we'll see you tomorrow. And let me get out of here. Go get them. See ya.